Heidi, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but you are muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Dr. Alicia. Good one. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to our third mini masterclass of 2025, titled Crafting Your Personal Value Proposition. I'm going to switch off my camera because I just want to show you that we are real and not the AI tool talking to you. All right. I just want to switch it off. Sorry for this. Okay, we're thrilled to have you with us for what we promises to be an inspiring session designed for your emerging professionals and recent graduates in the field of supply chain management. Our Mini Masterclass series continues to focus on helping you build the soft skills that are crucial for success in today's dynamic and evolving supply chain environment. Whether you just starting out or looking to grow further in your career, these skills will empower you to communicate with confidence, collaborate effectively, and unlock meaningful opportunities. We are so excited to welcome today's guest speaker, Nkanyezi Luthuli, the team lead for Group Procurement at Glencore Operations South Africa. Nkanyezi will be guided us through an engaging session on how to shape and crafting your personal value proposition, a vital tool for standing out in a competitive job market. It is also our pleasure to be joined by Claire Fincham from Saptix, our value partner and co-host of the Mini Masterclass series. Claire will be active in the chat throughout this session, ready to respond to any question you might have about Saptix, its membership benefit, and how you can get involved in South African leading supply chain community. We encourage you to participate actively by posting your questions in the chat. These will be addressed during the questions and answer session. And just a quick note for our UNISA students. Please don't forget to share your feedback on today's session through your module sites. Your insights are incredibly helpful as we continue to enhance and tailor the session to your needs. With that, let's get started. Nkanyezi, this stage is yours.
Sorry, Nkanyezi, you are muted. Please unmute.
I apologize. I didn't realize that I was muted. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the warm introduction to this section. I hope that it will be very helpful to everybody that is attending. Please do stop me and post questions throughout the session. I also look forward to any feedback. I just want to start by sharing my screen. Can you confirm if you guys can see my screen?
Not at the moment.
Confirmations now. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I apologize for the interruptions. So what is a personal value proposition? So this is something that is very critical as you navigate throughout your career, and not necessarily just as something that you do when you look at entering the career space, but as you continue to work and operate within a working environment. It is something that is what I'll say to you is your almost your sales pitch, you know. Sorry, I saw the way hands up.
Sorry, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. So what is your personal value proposition? So your personal value proposition is essentially your elevator pitch that demonstrates why you are the best fit for a specific role or a situation. So in essence, it must be a concise statement that articulates an individual's unique value based on their skills, expertise, strength, and how you contribute or benefit an organization or the task or the role. What is critical when you are crafting your personal value proposition? You must use clear and concise language. Avoid using jargons to make it easy for the next person to understand. Be specific in terms of the skills and experience that you want to are relevant to the opportunity or the task at hand. Quantify the results. Wherever possible, use numbers and be specific in terms of examples to demonstrate the impact. Focus on the benefits and explain the skills and experience and help the potential employer or the client. So as you're aware that the field of supply chain is one that you will continuously be engaging different stakeholders. So it is always very important that when you are doing your pitch, demonstrate a strong vision in terms of where it is that you are going. Tailor-make this for the audience to adapt a statement to the specific needs and interests to the target audience. What is often very critical is that you may look and say that I'm an introvert. How do I position myself to appear as an extrovert? So it will talk to a number of elements in terms of your personality and in terms of different areas, in terms of your character, and not just speak to your experience and your and your expertise. So if you look in terms of the image that I've portrayed, so you may be sitting there and looking at yourself and say, I feel like I'm a small kitten, but when you look at that image, you need to appear as that lion when you need to engage in this very highly competitive field of supply chain. So at a high level, what are the examples of some of your value proposition statements? So I'm a highly analytical and data-driven individual with a proven track record of improving business processes and driving revenue and growth. As you see from this type of statement, you are specific to say, what is this type of skills that I'm bringing, what type of individual I am, and then demonstrate it with a track record in terms of saying you are driving revenues, the benefit, or what it is that you're bringing to the table. With a strong communication and interpersonal skills and coupled with extensive experience in project management, demonstrating your ability on how it is that you work with other people. And these are just a few examples when you are doing your elevator speech in terms of your value proposition. So it is often very critical that very often that you don't have an opportunity to present yourself. You write a lot of things in terms of your CV, but nobody actually ever thinks that At some point, what I've put in my CV, I need to speak to. I need to portray it, and I need to craft it as a message to say, how do I differentiate myself from the other person? Because when you're applying for any position, when you're applying for any role, there's multiple candidates that are applying for a position. But how do I stand out? So I just have a few videos that I'll be playing as well throughout my whole presentation. And then as we craft. So I'm just going to play the first one. So very often we get very comfortable that once we've sent that CV, you've sent that information, your expectation is that everything should be covered, the recipient should actually understand who I am. But we never think that at some point we're going to need to express and actually sell ourselves to say who we are. So crafting your value personal proposition looks at a number of things. It looks at your personality, your character, how you differentiate yourself from other people, how you create credibility. It has to be relevant to your target audience, and also create a sense of affinity, how you attract those other people to be wanting to work with you. So I'm going to cover those few elements as well in terms of what drives your personality. So let's start with the first one. Personality refers to a person's unique and enduring characteristics, including the thoughts, feelings, behavior that shape how we interact with the world. There are a few key aspects that actually create what our personality. So we've got our thought patterns, our behavior, our triumphs, our emotional responses. All these are developed through a number of things. So the developmental stage in terms of our personality comes from genetics, social roles, and environment. So if you see then, in terms of the personalities, there's a number of personalities that exist in the world. Just this picture that demonstrates some of the personalities. So this is one that I've taken from People Hawk, where they're demonstrating the type of personalities that it exists in terms of the world. You have collaborators, flexibility, creator, and external. So you've got people that are shapers, mentors, pioneers, brokers, achievers, directors, anchors, and analysts. The question that you'll be asking is that actually, in my role as a supply chain professional, I have to apply all these aspects in terms of the job. It is very important that you do not stay in terms of the comfort zone. I may be an introvert, however, my job may require me to be an extrovert. And these are things that I need to consciously be aware of in terms of being relevant and applicable to my target audience, because at some point you are going to be required to collaborate, you are going to be required to be flexible, you are going to be required to take on your creative side, do things first, be pioneers, do things fast in terms of ensuring that you deliver your targets at a specific space, do the right things, and also do the things that last. So don't be comfortable to say, this is who I am and this is who I am staying to be. So Deloitte and a number of companies such as Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and KPMG have conducted a number of research to say, what is the type of 4 personas that we're going to be requiring in terms of the future as a supply chain professional? Because supply chain touches on a number of elements, and we know that we've now evolved in terms of the type of skills that are required. They've identified 4 types in terms of Ernst & Young, which is a technologist, because we've moved into the digital age in terms of robotics, AI. These are the type of people that will design, configure, and implement and maintain emerging technologies such as robotics, AI, machine and learning tools. You have the orchestra, the orchestrator. Those are the people that are artistic in terms of leading, vision-led people who unlock the potential to improve driven internal collaboration with holistic view in terms of the ecosystem that we operate in supply chain. You have the innovator who drive new opportunity sales and bring commercial lens to the business outlook and are big picture thinkers. and you have the analyst. However, you will find that as you continue to evolve your skills as well, at some point in terms of your career, you may be required to be a technologist. You may be required to be an analyst, an innovator. All these are skills that are critical as you navigate the world of being a supply chain professional. The next aspect in terms of creating your value proposition is your character. The character refers to the person's moral and ethical qualities. It insists of our beliefs, our moral principles that guide our behavior in a certain way. How do you align these characteristics in terms of your moral and your ethics to the business ethics, where you're looking at principles, reliability, trust, responsibility, choice, and behavior, relationship, and morality? This is a part that I need to emphasize, that you must be aware that by association, so when I'm now looking for an employer, it is important to say, does this employer align to my values? Do they align to my morals and my ethical build up in terms of my beliefs? Because you may have to stand up and sell a product to a client, but if you're not aligned in terms of certain ethical behaviors that your organization is doing, it will be difficult to promote that business. Other things as well to look at in terms of candidates, you hear a lot of news in the news about corruption that is taking place, especially in some of the state-owned enterprise. So if I'm now an individual that coming for the first time in the public sector, and I've just want to work in the private sector, where my previous job was in the public sector, and may perhaps have worked for a state-owned enterprise, the first thing that they'll look at and say, okay, this individual has got an association with an organization that has been corrupt. So what are the chances of us considering them that they will not take those practices that they are coming from the previous employer to bring him to my company? So it is critical when you are attending an interview to demonstrate, because of the fact that you have done your homework, to say, how does my current employer is being perceived by the external world, so that I can portray to say, as much as you've seen that my current employer has got issues of corruption, these are not the characteristics that describe me. And it's important that you bring that message across in terms of how do you speak to those issues during when you are creating your personal value proposition, to say, I'm an individual that practices high moral standards. I'm aware of issues of anti-bribery and corruption, and this is how I engaged them in the past and deal with these issues. On the issues of social responsibility, speaks to our ability as well to care for those communities that are impacted with what it is that we do. Your understanding in terms of your human rights, the understanding on environmental and sustainability issues is very critical as well, and how those messages come across. So at any time that within your career, you need to make sure that you do the necessary homework, understanding what are the business ethical issues that they have to do in terms of responsible sourcing, health and safety, dealing to ensure that the environment and the laws that govern our practices are aligned to my understanding and my values. Transparency and traceability deals with the fact that we need to know where our products come from. Inclusion and diversity deals with the issues of how do we ensure that our supply chains are inclusive, that women can participate, those who are historically disadvantaged have got the ability to participate. And why is it important? Why is it a moral responsibility and an ethical responsibility that we ensure that our supply chain is inclusive and diversified? So the legal compliance framework and regulatory framework in terms of the various industry, and also risk management, looks at how it is, do we address risk? Should we have any issues? Do we conduct third-party due diligences in terms of our process? How do we mitigate risk in terms of our practices? These are very critical when you navigate and looking at character, and how do these speak to your own moral and ethical qualities, and how do you align, especially when you are going to either approach a new employer, approaching a client, or wanting to work with certain people within a project. If they do not align, it will be difficult for you to work with these people. Then when we look at the element of differentiation, what sets you apart from your competitors? So just as an interesting caption, they've conducted an interview, and then they say both job candidates are equally educated, equally experienced, equally qualified, but one of them plays Lila on his armpits. So what it is that is going to differentiate you from other candidates, because in most cases, all of you have got the necessary experience, all of you have got the necessary qualification, but you need to stand out from the rest. Some of the important things that to remember as a supply chain professional, you need to follow what we call now a whole brain approach in terms of the skills that are required for supply chain professional. Anytime that you're selling your value proposition, you need to demonstrate your ability to be competitive and align your ability to be analytical, logical, precise, repetitive, organized, detail-oriented, scientific, detached, and literal. And sequence processing becomes very critical. And how do you encompass it and work together to become creative, imaginative, intuitive, and conceptual, and be big picture thinking and business savvy, where we talk about your ability to collaborate. So as a supply chain professional, you have to have a whole brain approach and not be stuck on a specific saying that I'm left brain or right brain. And this is what differentiates you from the rest in terms of your ability to be able to tap into your right brain and your left brain when you're engaging with your clients and when you're also doing your work. And how do we look at and ensure credibility and trustworthy when we are now looking at building your value proposition? What is very critical, one of the things that is a starting point when you want to build credibility, it is crucial to establish trust and confidence in your ability to deliver on what you promised. A strong value proposition needs to be believable and demonstrate your unique skills and experience to benefit the potential clients or the employer. Key things is time management. Always be on time. Whether you are delivering on a project, whether you are coming from for an interview, time management is critical. I know time management is one of the skills that UNISA also has in place, especially for students, where they are trained on delivering in terms of their assignments, where you have certain timelines that you need to deliver on. What is also very critical in terms of building your credibility is your qualification and expertise. Ensure that you have qualifications that are aligned to the job that you are currently applying for. In certain instances, when you cannot tap into the qualification, look at the experience and the track record. So they are very, these two almost go hand in hand. What you can sometimes find is that you'll find that a candidate is highly qualified, however, they do not necessarily have the experience. So you need to have the ability to demonstrate how it is are you going to apply those skills that you have learned in terms of your qualification into a business situation. Understand and look at various case studies and data in terms of analyzing the various statistics so that whatever information that you give that is credible, look at what is data is available and to conduct your research. So when you are not portraying to say, I am the best candidate for the job, these are the qualifications that I have, and this is how I would apply my knowledge and skills in terms of the world of work. It is also very important to highlight any awards and recognition and also be consistent. Do what you say you will do and over a specified time. Be committed. So be aware that commitment requires you to be adaptable to change. Because as you know, our environment evolves. I mean, when supply chain initially started, it was required as a clerical types of roles. However, as time evolved, we've now become critical business partners. We've become analysts. We've become the go-to people on anything that happens in terms of business. We are the influencers. So it is also very critical that you need to be committed to your end goal, and understand what is it that is happening in the world of work, what is happening in terms of your space. Relevance addresses the specific needs of challenges to your target audience. Conduct the research as I previously indicated. Do your market analysis. Understand what are the pain points in terms of your client or in terms of your stakeholders that you are engaging with. Continuous learning is very critical because what you learn today in terms of your environment is going to change in the world of work. As an example, I mean, every day they introduce new systems in terms of how we work. And I cannot now sit and say, no, I'm not yet familiar with analysis. I don't have this expertise, but it's always critical that you need to be open to continuous learning because this is the only way that you can improve yourself as an individual. You need to be adaptable and stay abreast on the latest trends that are happening in terms of the industry. And not just the industry, because supply chain hits every single element of a company. Networking and building relationships is very critical. So explaining networks, you've got two types of networks that can influence where it is that you are going to engage. So we've got your social networks and also your business networks. Just to highlight on your social networks, the social media plays a very critical role as well in terms of how it is that we employ these days. You will find that most employers are now also engaging the internet when they are targeting new candidates to say what type of things do they post on their social networks. What type of information are they talking about? Who are they talking about? Who are their friends? This can sometimes also influence your value proposition because of the activities that you do outside the workplace will have a direct impact on what happens in terms of the workplace. Because as much as you are building a personal brand, companies are also building their own specific brand related to their image. And they do not want to be associated with somebody that has got a brand that is not aligned to this. It is also very important that early on in your career, you find mentors and coaches. In finding mentorship and coaches, they will provide a direction to say, setting your career path, doing your individual development plan in terms of where it is that you are going, coaching you to various areas, because especially in instances where you need to portray personalities that are not necessarily comfortable with. I mean, let me use a typical example. So as you know that the world of work evolves all the time, what we tend to find in the workplace is that most of the people that have been in the company for a very long time very often are introverts. I mean, you'll find that the individual has not necessarily gone and uplifted themselves, and they stay in particular roles and they're just comfortable. It happens, as you know, that business has got cycles, that now you need to undergo an retrenchments. The first point when you're doing the retrenchments is you start with having early voluntary packages, where people take the early voluntary packages. Very often the people that take the voluntary packages are your extroverts, because it's easy for them to find jobs because they are always easy to market themselves. They're able to sell the skills. And then you move on to the next level where once the packages have gone for voluntary packages, then you now need to really go into and retrenching the people. And then you apply what you call last in, first out. And then the last in is often the guys that have got often are new to the company, because extroverts are continuously finding new opportunities, continuously finding new jobs, and then you're stuck with the introverts. So it is also very important that as a manager, for those of you that are working, you also expose your own people to the various elements in terms of your supply chain. Make sure that you also expose the the introvert to more of the jobs that require them to be extroverts, where they're required to do negotiation, where they are required to communicate with key stakeholders in terms of the business, to ensure that you have a plan should in any case that the company undergoes that cycle where you may be required to retrench, that at least that you retain the talent within your organization. Then we look at affinity. Affinity is the shared values between you and your target audience and your ability to work with others. It looks at how good you are able to coordinate and how you bring that message across. This involves aligning and synchronize various activities from source to distribution. Communication, your communication must be open and transparent. It must also be effective and must also include elements of sharing of information. Collaboration looks about building strong partnerships and collaborative relations with stakeholders. Customer focus. Remember, here companies want people that are going to be able to be problem solvers, people that are going to be able to understand the needs and provide solution. Just as an example, where you are now selling your value proposition to say how you create building affinity helps create trust and loyalty, make people more likely to engage with you and recommend your skills or services. I am just so an example of a statement that you make that speak to affinity. It will be like, I'm not just a consultant. I'm a partner who understands your unique business challenges and helps you achieve your goals on all, making the experience enjoyable and collaborative. So this is how you necessarily sell your value proposition when you want to speak to affinity. Just to highlight then in key points in closing, it is critical when you are building your value proposition. Analyze your strength because you want to promote your strengths and your expertise. Be authentic. Stay relevant. Keep it concise. Tailor to your audience that you are dealing with. Use action verbs. Just as a little video that I want to share, which reflects to the changes and when you are experiencing and in terms of the world of work.
Nkanyezi, can you share this with sound, please?
Sorry, I missed that.
The sound, can you share this with a sound with us?
Okay. So
because we can't hear anything.
Did you hear the sound on the first video I shared?
And there was none.
You have to share your presentation with sound.
Let me start again. Can you hear that now? Hello?
Nothing.
Okay, all right. I actually wanted to share this video. Okay, I've stopped sharing, so I'll come again. So I just want to see, are there any hands?
We have fields in the chat, and then we will start with that.
Okay, I'm not winning in terms of the video. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. I think that's the end of my presentation.
Okay,
So
I'm
I
going to
see,
start here. Yeah.
okay, I see I've got hands up.
Christopher, you might ask your question. You can unmute yourself. Christopher, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. All right, but we will start with one of the questions. As our students prepare to enter the dynamic world of supply chain management, what international actions or habits can they develop to build a strong character? And then I will ask the second one, maybe you can combine it. Furthermore, how can they practically demonstrate these character traits during a job interview to make a lasting impression?
Sorry, can you ask the first question again?
Okay. As our students prepare to enter the dynamic world of supply chain management, what international actions or habits can they develop to build a strong character?
Okay, then the second one.
Second one was, furthermore, how can they practically demonstrate these character traits during a job interview to make a lasting impression?
Okay, so as a starting point is that when you are going to meet your employer, and for the first time, potential employer, you've just now been invited to an interview. The starting point is that you need to do your research. Understand the company that you are going to be working for. Find what the pain points are and see how you align the skills in terms of your learning towards what you believe are the current needs in terms of the business to address the potential problems that they have. So it's always very critical that you need to do your homework. Find out who your potential employer is, read the newspaper. There's a lot of information that comes on the internet lately on the various companies. Look as well in terms of their annual financial statements. Look as well in terms of how they are also performing in terms of the market. Do a bit of research as well in terms of what are the key market drivers in terms of the space that you are applying for in terms of the interviews, and what product are they providing, and how would you support them to ensuring that they maintain the good quality, and who are the end customers and what are the customers' needs. So it goes back to looking at the entire value chain in terms of the end-to-end process, understanding to whom they source from, and how did the final product actually contribute to the end customers. And then you align, you were then in terms of looking at what have I learned in terms of the various modules, in terms of supply chain, in terms of marketing, in terms of all the other business models that you've learned. So don't only focus on looking at what you've learned with your supply chain models or your logistic model. Look at including your marketing models are very important. Your communication models are very important. And then when you do your proposition, then you need to make sure to speak to those points that say, I have seen that currently your company is performing very well on the stock exchange. I've looked at your stock that you are currently selling it at this X price. And I've noted as well, as an example, that your end customers are buying products 1, 2, 3 from you. And I believe that in terms of understanding the value, you need to ensure that we still engage in an environment that is inclusive and see how it is that we ensure that our supplier base is diverse and they contribute to your final product, just as an example.
Wow, thank you so much. I've got there's a few questions here. Does it put candidates at a disadvantage if they do not have any awards?
No, it doesn't put them at a disadvantage. So what is often very critical when you're entering the world of work is that, which is something that I just want to caution, especially students that are starting to a job for the first time. Very often you'll find a good candidate in terms of how they appear on paper, but they are not willing to start from the bottom. They will always try to pitch for the high level positions because automatically what happens is that you think of the investment that you've done in terms of your education and forget that I may have invested this amount of time in my education, I have the qualifications, I do not necessarily have the experience. So when employers meet you for the first time, it is important that you must be willing to gain the experience and be willing to start from the bottom. Because it's not automatic that just the mere fact that you have got a degree, that your first job will be management. It will be an entry level because you already have other candidates that you're competing with that have got the necessary experience, have got the necessary track record in terms of the applying their skills and expertise in the world of work that may be at a more advantage than you are. So it is always very critical as well that to also be conscious and aware on the type of jobs that you're applying for and be willing to start from the bottom.
Wow, thank you.
I
It
see
gives us all,
Christopher still got his
it
hand
gives
up.
all hope. Yeah, it gives us all hope. Yeah. Then is another question to say, Nkanyezi, thanks for the share. How have you navigated your career in mining, which is predominantly male-led, particularly in a strategic function at Glencore SA?
So to answer that question is that I am on my side, I read a lot. I ensure that whenever I need to engage, especially on when I have a meetings, I mean with my colleagues that are more experienced than me in terms of they've been in the space for a very long time, because us as women are new entrants in terms of mining. I make sure that I do my homework in advance and I prepare before I walk into any meeting. I also go and also investigate and find out who it is that I'm meeting. Do I also do a bit of homework on say who they are, what is their current position that do they hold, what are the type of areas of interest that do they have in terms of their business, in terms of their space that they're working with, so that when I then have a meeting and engaging with them, I'm better prepared to face them. So obviously, at the beginning, you may be very much uncomfortable because most meetings that I do attend are predominantly those with men. And men, most of the time, have got sort of like some sort of camaraderie. I mean, they do a lot of things together. They do a lot of work outside of the workspace. And I may not always necessarily be involved. However, it is very important that I need to position myself and see what value do I bring understand their needs, and do my own research to ensure that when I'm standing in that position, I'm not caught off guard. I know enough that I can respond to various questions, and also I'm comfortable in terms of my role. So I'm an expert in terms of what I do, and I need to make sure that whatever it is that I do aligns to their greater vision in terms of where it is that they want to drive the business, where it is that they want to drive their own objectives in terms of the various departments that we engage with. So continuous learning is very critical as well. And also having partners, people that you also engage with in terms of the business. You do not work in silos, you do not work independently, and it's always very important to get other people involved as well, especially when you need to prepare for important presentations, to ensure that you've got buy-in even before you go into that meeting, so that by the time that you are at that meeting, at least you've interacted with some of those people outside of the meeting, and that you are in a more comfortable space, because you can be intimidated if you're walking in a room and have not necessarily had those one-on-ones with those individuals.
Thank you so much. It sounds to me knowledge is power. Okay, let's see the time. Okay, we can maybe do one more. How can we gain access to mentorship and coaches if I am a student from the villages and do not have access to this aspect?
So this is a good starting point that UNISA has in terms of the networks that you've created. Try to network and see as well in terms of your social networks, speak to the people that you engage with socially. If I'm, for example, interested in working for example, I'm going to use an example. I want to work in a company that does logistics. Try to see as well, engage even the HR business partners to say, are there opportunities for me as an outsider to have a mentor in your organization? You know, sometimes you never know until you ask. There are also other platforms that have mentorship and coaches that also exist. Again, it goes back to conducting your research. Organizations such as SIPS, organizations such as SAPEX here that you will be having a speaker speaking to today, also should allow those opportunities as well, especially in the area of supply chain, because a lot of people from business are also members of these organizations to say, we are looking out for mentors for young students who are part of our members. Are there any volunteers? And it also important as well when you also approach and look at your LinkedIn networks. LinkedIn has got a lot of people as well that you pick up. If somebody is now willing to connect with you on LinkedIn just as a request, ensure that you use that online platform effectively. Do the first intro to say, I'm a student. I've noted that on LinkedIn you are a leader in an organization or a senior management. Would you be willing to consider me to be your mentee? So it's all about asking. So you'll never know. I mean, you've got nothing to lose. I mean, the worst thing they can say is no.
Oh, thank you so much. Sure. I can't believe time. When we have fun, we are running out of time. There's not enough time. Let's see if we can do maybe one more. There's so many questions. Let's go here. Sure. I think I see it one. Okay, let's do this. Okay, how do I align my department objectives to the business objectives, whereby I have to do cost savings and reach my targets on customer service and OTIF. Oh, wow.
So this will look at what KPIs have you currently put in place, and how have you engaged in terms of your stakeholders. So if you are not aligned in terms of your business objectives, in terms of driving and cost, remember that supply chain is a critical part in terms of driving cost and cost savings. When you drive cost savings, it's also very critical that every activity that you do is efficient. So the starting point will be start with the stakeholder engagement and see how it is that you are aligned. Understand what value do you bring to a particular department, what it is that you do for them. And also put together a proposal in terms of your strategy, and look at key points to say, we want to drive cost savings. This is the area where we need to improve, and this is how we're performing. So historic data becomes very critical, that you need to analyze historic data in terms of the past performance to drive what it is that you want to do in the future. And also, it's important to do a gap analysis to see where are the gaps in terms of my own objectives as a department against what the rest of the business is doing. So conduct the gap analysis and ask the difficult questions. Do not be comfortable in sitting in your office. You do need to also go and roll your sleeve and go to the ground level to see the customers that you are servicing. So remember that as a supply chain individual, you're a service department, and you're providing a service to the rest of the business. So it's very critical as well to understand what are their expectations in terms of the work that you do from them, so that the expectations are clear right from the beginning. And also, you also need to also state to them and create a value position to say, this is what we intend to do for you. And this is how we are aligning based on the data that we've collected from you, based on the history and based on the engagement that we've had with you. So it's always very critical to conduct that gap analysis between the various departments that you work with.
Thank you so much. Yo, can we give our presenter a raise of a hand clap? Thank you so much. Wow. Yes, 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 yes. Yo, and just like that, we reached the end of today's mini masterclass. I'm sorry we can't answer all the questions, but a big thank you to our incredible speaker for sharing such valuable insights with us, and to each of you for taking the time to join this session. We truly hope you found this discussion as inspiring and thought-provoking as we did. I still have goosebumps. I just have to say that. Um, if you like to revisit today's session or catch up on any of the previous mini master classes, you can find the full collection on our YouTube channel. The link will be shared in the chat shortly. As we look ahead, we love for you to stay connected. As you see, it is important to have the right, let's put it, connections. We need to do networking. Be sure to sign up for our mailing list. Details are in the chat to receive updates and upcoming sessions, including the launch date for our first mini masterclass in semester 2. Thanks again for being part of the journey. Until next time, take care and have a great day. Can we say goodbye? Tot ziens.
Goodbye and thank you.
Gabotse.
Thank you very much, Nkanyezi and Heidi. Goodbye.